All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Family Finance Friday with DJ the Money Coach and Nick Westbrooks. And this show is brought to you by the DJ the Money Coach team and the Seven Spheres of Money system. And before we head on to tonight's beach, hit that like button, share with at least 5 people. And if you're not subscribed to DJ the Money Coach here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so you can be notified when these excellent, powerful, and very important programs become live and available to you. And also share so you can help us spread the message of the Pom Pom Lifestyle Movement, the good news about the Pom Pom Lifestyle Movement, which is plenty of money, peace of mind. And we invite you to come join us, not just every Friday, but every day of the year to the Beaches of the World Club. And tonight's beach is love, give, and forgive because life is short. But before we get into that, what's going on, DJ? How you doing tonight?
What's happening, Nick? As I always say, if you have your health and you're above ground, everything is great. Today is no exception to the rule. But today, we want to talk about what's most important in life. You know, this ain't a dress rehearsal. We only get one shot at this title. Some get it wrong. Some come neutral. Very few get it right. And it's just like Maslow talks about the hardest thing to accomplish in life is self-actualization. But God gives us very simple rules, love thyself, love thy neighbor as if thy neighbor is thyself. The world tells us to pursue our ambitions, to go out and slay the dragon, get the girl, get the riches, and everything else does not matter. And especially, that's the capitalistic American dream. And a lot of times, as men or males, that's all we see. We get cloudy perspective on life. And we start only pursuing those things, and we leave a lot of collateral damage in the wake. And I have not been any exception to that rule. So tonight, we want to focus on life is short. I'll say a minute in God's eyes is like 1,000 years. Five years goes by just like that. There's a thing we get out, when you're young, you rush to get old. And when you're old, you're trying to stay young. You're trying to become Ponce de Leon and find the fountain of youth. That doesn't exist. So what do you really have to lay your hat on? You have to lay your hat on love. You have to give. You have to forgive. You have to provide grace or receive grace and have mercy along with gratitude for humanity. A lot of times, as a go-getter, or what they, quote unquote, have been coining alpha, which is really a fugazi, because God made man. And man is what, quote unquote, an alpha is. There's no such thing in real life as betas and alphas. You are either a man or you are a male. And most of the time, we parade around as males, but disguised as men, just from the physical aspect. And we get away with a lot of that. Or shall I say, I've gotten away with a lot of that. However, when it's all said and done, you can't take any of this stuff with you. You're not going to be on your deathbed wishing for more stuff. The strongest man physically and the most stubborn woman mentally are going to both want the same thing at their demise. They're going to want more time. And you know what they're going to want with that more time? Family, love, forgiveness, grace, mercy. So in order to not be a fugazi and a man parading around as a male parading around as a man, we have to understand what love is about. We have to incorporate giving unselfishly with not any attachments to it, no agendas. We have to have the capacity to forgive. And forgiving means providing grace, having mercy. I don't mean being a pushover, but I mean having the ability to have self-awareness. So with that said, I'm going to read, what, love is. So I'm going to turn to Corinthians 13. And people may think, what does this have to do with family finances? It has a lot to do with family finances. It's everything with family finances. Because no matter if you were dealt the worst set of cards in life, you grew up in the hood, your house was vandalized, maybe when your loved one's life was taken, you still have a choice in which direction you can go in life if you have your health and you're above ground. These are just hard facts. So today, on Friday, August 22nd, 2025, I've had a chance through these past 6 days leading up today to see some highs, some lows, and some astonishing stories of forgiveness, and seeing real life testimonials of overcoming the worst situations where people legitimately were victimized. I happened to stumble on this little mini sports series because, I'm deeply involved in watching the Little League World Series because, I love baseball at the essence of baseball, Little League, when it's just played for the love of the game. And that's almost getting to the point where these kids are starting to want to be famous and all that and have likes and all that. But at the core essence of baseball at the Little League level, the one thing that it does better, in my humble but expert opinion, better than anything, it really binds families together. So as I was watching the Little League World Series the other day, and it went off, and my team had got eliminated, my second team. This mini sports here, I didn't realize it because I don't watch hardly any television. But then this other series just started playing, and it was called The Kingdom, and it was about the Kansas City Chiefs, which I'm not a fan of. I respect the fact that they win. However, when they start getting favoritism, this pertains to love, giving, and forgiving, how short life is, the narrative. They had this one segment about DeAndre Hopkins. And this is where, if you don't know a person's story and we're quick to judge people and you don't know how the facts, the best thing to do is what my grandmother always told me, Nick. Mind your own business, number one. Two, if you don't actually know and have been part of the actual situation or the actual story, keep your mouth shut. Because what we have become on these platforms are nothing but gossipers. So I saw two programs that really allowed me to get perspective. And then I also had two experiences in my personal life that called me to actually call myself on the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not jive thyself. To cut out the bull stuff and me thinking that I'm more than what I am, and also taking responsibility and not being a repeat offender. And that's the reason why I want to talk about love, give, forgive, because life is short. And also, experience, somebody passing away unexpectedly. So DeAndre Hopkins grew up in South Carolina, went to Clemson University, was an amazing player, won the championship in college. He was drafted by the Houston Texans, watched him have a spectacular career with the Houston Texans, and then he traded to the Arizona Cardinals, and then he recently, in a trade, ended up in Kansas City, and he went to the Super Bowl. But we don't know his backstory. I know a little bit because down here in Texas, watched him play ball for us. And was a great receiver. But then some of the ways, I thought he lived his life, I didn't agree with. So I had a judgment mentality towards him, rightfully so. Never said anything about it, but I would just be like, great receiver. He never did anything wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you this. Never been in any trouble or anything like that. I just didn't care about his, choices of women he dated. That was it. So as they're talking about him and how grateful he was at the end, he's in the twilight of his NFL career. He used to be a number one receiver. Now he's really a third or fourth receiver. So they're telling everybody's backstory. They show how his dad and mom were married, children in wedlock, in a black family, the traditional way, the right way. Didn't know. His dad died in a car accident when he was only something like 5 years old. Two older siblings. So now his mom is a single parent. A lot of us can relate to that. She's not a single parent because the dad ran out on him. The dad died in an accident, right? So mom's got to go work, take care of the family. I can relate to that. So I'm relating because, my parents got divorced, so it wasn't like his situation. Mom went out, didn't make any excuses. She's working. She's young. She's in her 20s. And, rightfully so. She wants to have another partner. Deservedly so. She's a good woman, a godly woman, a Proverbs 18 woman. Proverbs 31, verse 18 woman. And then tragedy struck. Mom starts dating a guy apparently a lot younger than her. She was so, wanting to have a completion and having another provider and a protector, more so a protector, not necessarily a provider, but to ease up the stress off of her life. Rightfully so. She fell prey to a fugazi, a male, a boy in a man's body, and she didn't see the red flags. The first one was he started asking her for stuff. Next thing you know, he borrows her car. He borrows her car. He doesn't show up with her car. She needs to go to work. She kind of senses that this guy might be going out with somebody else. And she's right. So she goes, finds out where the guy is, to this apartment complex. And she arrives at the apartment complex. She knocks on the door because she sees her car in the parking lot. Lady opens the door. She asks where old boy is. And the next second, this lady throws acid in her face. Eats up the whole side of her face. Blinds her for life in both of her eyes. Now, this happened while DeAndre Hopkins was about 8 years old. Older brother about 4 years older than him. Older sister about 2 years older than him. So now your mom is fighting for her life for a vicious miscreant. No reason at all for that person to throw acid in her face. I'm sitting up there, man, and I'm having a hard time. I'm a tough guy, but I'm having a hard time trying to hold back tears welling up in my eyes because when it happened, she said she went home, rushed to the hospital, came home, and they showed the gratuitous look. Her whole face was just eaten up like a mummy, man. Crazy. She sits down with her three children, and they cry their eyes out. And she has the audacity to tell them, this is not going to stop your dreams from coming true. We're not going to use this as an excuse for us not to be victorious. The sad thing about this, had I known his backstory, I would not have had frivolous and trivial thoughts about his personal life. None of my business anyway. So they fast forward to the Super Bowl. His mom has had to have, multiple operations and stuff like that. And his mom, you would think, would be the most bitter person on the planet. Just the opposite. You talking about the joy in her spirit, the kindness in her heart that she showed in every frame of this one episode. And when they got to the Super Bowl, he's excited. His mom is elated, even though they got beat down. At the end of the game, they zoom in to a picture of his mother. I believe it was his grandmother or his aunt. And they're just bawling out in tears, man. And she's just, man, I'm so happy for you, son. I'm glad that we were able to achieve this dream together. And he's, he's a little, hurt because they didn't win. And his mother was like, we won. We've gotten to your dream, to the Super Bowl. So that was one scenario. And I saw that, I think it was on Wednesday or Tuesday. Then there was another show that I intentionally watched. Not All Hood. The episode with Malcolm Jamal Warner, one of the episodes they taped that they were airing during the beginning of their new season. And shout out to Nah. They're still producing the podcast. I'm glad they're doing that. So they had this episode, ladies and gentlemen, and it was with what's my man name? Isaac Hayes. Isaac Hayes, the third or junior. I think it was the third. Well, everybody knows who legendary Isaac Hayes, who made all this amazing music, right? So Isaac Hayes, the third, he's a technology guy. And he's talking about the importance of sovereignty in our community. A lot of things that we talk about. He talks about the importance of how we create everything and we give it back to the other people. And he talked about how in 2021, he created a platform called Fanbase. And he also talked about how these other platforms like Facebook, like Instagram, like TikTok, that nobody would know of these platforms if it wasn't for us. We blow these platforms up. He talked about the power of greenlighting a movie. Now, I strongly believe and support 90% of everything he was talking about. And I will agree with him on this point, as well as disagree with him. And he gave the scenario about the power to greenlight a movie in America. And he brought up Tyler Perry, and he brought up Denzel Washington, and whoever the top tier A Black artists are who have to beg to get movies made. He brought up Spike Lee, Denzel Washington, and somebody else. And he said, hey, the difference between them, they got to go and beg for a movie to get greenlit by somebody in Hollywood that don't look like them. But Tyler Perry just goes down to his own studio and he cuts his movie. I agree with him up to that point. What I didn't agree with him is that he allowed Tyler Perry to still get away with producing garbage. And what he tried to do is justify it with Mama's House and Charles in Charge, and talked about how these shows were similar to the type of shows that Tyler Perry produces. No, they're not. because Charles in Charge, I watched that. It didn't denigrate women. It didn't denigrate men. It didn't talk about drugs and prostitution and stuff. Mama's House with Vicki Lawrence. I watched that comedic show a little bit. And she wasn't dressing up as no man. She was dressing up as an old lady. He tried to equate that to Tyler Perry dressing up like a woman and doing funny skits and everything. Wrong comparison, my brother. I understand your thought process, but wrong comparison. So, as I saw the story about DeAndre Hopkins, I saw the story about Isaac Hayes III, and I said, in conjunction with a couple of things that, I experienced personally in my life this week that I was personally responsible for, being a male and not a man, I said, you know what? What is it that is void for me? Because I can only be responsible and control my actions and control how I react to things and not get triggered by whatever somebody says or does to me, because I still control that outcome as well. Here's a harsh reality, ladies and gentlemen. The first form of love is self-love. It's not narcissism. It's not egotism. It's not having a dictator mindset, but it's true self-love that is positive. So when you love yourself, nobody can say anything or do anything to you unless it's physical to really harm you, unless you allow them to take control of you mentally because you don't love thyself. Thus, when you love yourself, it is very easy to be an unselfish giver because you have all that you need. And matter of fact, you have an abundance of what you need, so much that you can light somebody else's light. And since you can light somebody else's light and God gave you that gift, you must give that gift unselfishly. You also must understand and have gratitude for the gift giver. And I was not grateful for the gift giver. And why is that? No excuse. However, I have to also have the ability to have the capacity to just look at the facts, because the facts tells the story. If I don't see that story about DeAndre Hopkins' mother, I don't look at him in the best perspective that he deservedly should be looked at in all aspects of his life that I've seen from a spectator position. But guess what? To his credit, and most importantly, to his mother's credit, they're not out there crying wolf or victimhood. Now, I have to say and self-evaluate, why do I act the way I act when I'm not acting and behaving like a man? And how do I stop it? There's a saying, Nick, hurt people hurt people. For me, when my mother and father got divorced, that hurt. It hurt a lot, a tremendous amount. However, when I was growing up, you're taught, hey, you don't cry, you don't show weakness, you keep moving forward. Part of that is true. You have to. But the other part is that we don't know. You have to have outlet and you have to have resolution for that pain, so that you don't beat yourself up and you don't hurt somebody from that hurt. So for me, immediately, I go from being a very naive, fun-loving child to I put up an invisible wall. I don't allow people to get close and know me personally. And now I'm more pressing into my manhood to prove that I don't need anybody. So that naivete, that love and essence for life that only children have, and reason why people who are pet lovers love pets so much is because they love unconditionally. And that's the type of love as a human being you want. However, you can't receive it if you don't give it unconditionally the way you need it. So the second time that my spirit was crushed, but my lights didn't go out, was when I had my first puppy love. So when I was freshman or sophomore in high school, I think I was my last semester of freshman year. I met this girl. I've never told anybody this story. I've told just a couple of people this story. Very painful experience. So I met this girl at a football game because we had what we call a brother and a sister high school, because I went to a private Catholic high school, right? So our sister school came to our football game, and I met this girl. She was drop dead gorgeous in my eyes. Spectacularly beautiful, walked on water. So as they would say today, I was simping for her. Unapologetically simping for her. And here's the irony of it. Girls used to throw themselves at me. I'm not making this up, ladies and gentlemen. So I wasn't a simp. I had all kind of girls who I turned away multiple times. And the reason why is because when that first hurt happened, you know what my mother did? My mother babied me. And she started loving on me. And she told me, it's not your fault. And so guess what happened? I started getting loved on by beautiful women. Where my sister's friends would walk me to school, these beautiful girls that were my sister's classmates would just take to me and treat me like I was somebody special. And so I immediately had invisible wall up. Then I juxtaposed to that, I had this bravado because these girls were showing me all this affection and I couldn't do no wrong in their eyes. And unfortunately, they were conditioning me to become possibly a womanizer. I've never been one, but I was somebody that never had a problem with girls ever. So imagine how I'm up on this inflated false reality of myself, the bravado, and I meet somebody that I'm head over heels for her more so than she is for me. So now I relinquish my power to her, and whatever she asks me to do, I do. Now, I should have seen the signs, the red flags. But remember, the purpose of me telling this and sharing this story with you is because hurt people hurt people. And this becomes a repeat pattern if you don't break it. So this young lady, she told me, hey, like you a lot. Here's when you can come visit me. She had all these restrictions, Nick. So I'm dating her at the end of my freshman year, going into my sophomore year. So I would go over to her house, can only come over her house at a certain time. And back then it really wasn't, unnormal, because when you went to go visit her, her parents are there. So it'd be like those commercials they show where the guy comes in, the father and mother there, and you sit on the couch, you watching TV, and they watching in at you. You can't go up to the room or anything like that. So it's that kind of scenario. So there was nothing for me to be concerned about. But then what I should have been concerned about is she would tell me outside of that, hey, always call me, don't come, do this, whatever. And mind you, she lives right down the street from my grandmother's house. So one day, I'm bragging to my friend Maurice at the time, who was my best friend. And I'm like, man, I got the finest girl, bop, bop, bop. He was like, man, you know what? Because, his nose ain't open wide. So he's having some, perspective and some objectivity. He's like, hey, man, why is it that certain times, this, that, and other, you got to call her, da-da-da, before you do anything? He said, I don't think that girl is really into you like you think she's into you. So now he presses the other button. He challenges me. So one day, Nick, we get a half day and we over at my grandmother's house. He said, hey, man, your girl live right down the street, about a mile or so. Why don't we just pop on by? It's like 1 o'clock on a Friday without calling her. If you the man, why you got to call her? So you know what I did? I said, oh, man, get out of here. We going over there. So we go over there, Nick. I'm with my boy. We knock on the door. Her brother comes to the door. He got the shocked look on his face. Yo, man, what you doing? It's like he's trying to hide. So Maurice's like, hey, man, is your sister at home or what? So, you know how he opens up the door a little slightly. Hey, man, you spoke. So her brother was in on the deal. You ain't supposed to come over here without calling, and you sure ain't supposed to come over here at no 1 o'clock. Where's your sister at? She ain't here. So I'm like, all right, man, we're going to get, but my boy Murray's like, nah, man. She's here because y'all had a half a day just like we had a half a day. If she ain't here, where's she at? He gassing up the situation. I'm like, man, we can go. So he said, all right, tell you what, we're going to leave. Because back then, there's no cell phones, bro. There's rotary dial phones with the long cord on them or a pay phone. He said, all right, man, we're going to leave. We're going to walk around and we're going to pretend like we heading to the crib. And we just going to sit out for a couple of minutes and come on back. Now, mind you, I don't want to do this because I already know. Now my spidey sense, I done woke up, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, something ain't right here. We come back. Here it is. This other dude walking out of her door, holding her hand, and she kissing this dude goodbye. Now, mind you, I'm a sophomore in high school. I'm on the baseball team. I'm on the bowling team. I'm a straight A student, ranked like 4th or 5th in my class. I am, as they say today, HIM. Right at that moment, we walk around, we look at her, she looks up, and she don't even hesitate. What you doing here? You don't come here without calling me. She had no care, concern about me. I was her sucker. Immediately, I went from I'm going to be super nice, giving to girls, to immediately the exact opposite. What does that have to do with today? Because I experienced 2 devastating hurts, maturated through those processes, and still carry remnants of that in my adult life. So much so that I have been that girl to people, unfortunately. I have been that man to my children, because when I got divorced, guess what? They had to have the same feeling in some capacity. But I wasn't that guy that my dad was. I'm in my children's life. However, nothing replaces mom and dad in the home 100%, loving on each other, loving on you. So I was becoming and had become a taker, a calculated taker, a strategic taker. I would never do anything to harm anybody, but I was always calculated in what I wanted from situations, whatever, so that I would never have those 2 hurt experiences that cut me deeply. Now, thanks to the glory of God, I was able to make a metamorphosis and a change, because I went to a program that actually showed me the value and the principles of headship and protection, called Conflict in Youth, the Bill Gothard program. And it talked about the sins of the father go 3 generations. And I metamorphosed and changed completely into a better person and a better human being. But here's the scenario. It's like Alcoholic Anonymous. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? That means never put yourself back in that type of environment in any capacity. No matter how much positive you put in, here's what you need to know. Negative stuff can only be diluted. It cannot be eliminated out of your brain, ever. It can be diluted. So even though I have put positive stuff into my brain for a good 25, almost 30 years, since 1996, I still have remnants of that little hurt boy from the divorce. I still have remnants of that teenager of having a broken heart. And that's just facts. That's not an excuse. That is just facts. Okay? So with that said, here's where I have to become a better man. And we're going to share that with you when we come back from this break. Because right now you're watching Family Finance Friday. Today's episode is very important. So I would hope that you would share, like, and subscribe if we can give one nugget to you, because the things I talk to you about, I'm talking to you about things I've actually lived. I have 5.5 decades on this planet, and I don't, pontificate and hope about stuff that young people wish for. I've lived it. I've owned it. I've done it. I've lived a fast life. So today's episode, Love, Give, Forgive, is important if we strike a chord with one person. Because with losing life unexpectedly, that's the life is short scenario. We don't know if we have tomorrow. So we're going to talk about the importance of how to keep that hurt buried deeply. Talk about what love really is. We're going to talk about how to be an unselfish giver. But most importantly, they have a saying, to err is human, to forgive is godly. We're going to talk about the importance of forgiveness and grace and gratitude when we come back. So again, you're watching Family Finance Friday, what we affectionately call F Cube, with my main man, Nick Westbrooks, and DJ the Money Coach. We'll be right back after these words from us, for you, with us on tonight's show. I wanna take you to Zanzibar. Hey, Zanzibar. We'll be to Zanzibar. Hey, Zanzibar. I wanna take you to Zanzibar. Hey, Zanzibar. Hey, Zanzibar. Hey, Zanzibar. Hey, Zanzibar. Everything. We're going to give you a master training, 3-hour course, 2 consultations. We're going to teach you how to build credit up to $100,000 interest-free for 18 months. Pay off your home in 7 to 10 years. And most importantly, create $8,333 a month. Passive income. It's a $997 course. You get it all today for $97. Hit that link and beat me. All right, welcome back. You're watching Family Finance Friday. Today is a special episode. We're talking about love, give, and forgive, because at the end of the day, life is short. You nor I know the day, the time that God is going to call us home. And with that said, we have to focus on the things that are really important to life. It's not chasing money, chasing women, chasing men, chasing fame. It's all about love, giving, forgiving, family. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to read to you Corinthians 13 that talks about love, because this sums it up. And when you understand that the most important love is natural, positive self-love, you will automatically be able to give love, and you will automatically, as a byproduct, be an unselfish giver, and you will automatically be able to forgive without having attachments to that forgiveness, because you understand that every day is a present. So Corinthians 13 says, if I speak the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all the mysteries and all the knowledge and all, I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all the possessions to the poor and give over my body to the hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, there will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. However, when I became a man, I put away the childish things and left them behind me. For now, we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then shall we see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. Of the three things that remain important in life, faith, hope, and love, the greatest thing that you need to get of these three is only love. A male is a child. Guess what? Yours truly have acted like a child, even at 5.5 decades on the planet. You know why? No excuse. I'm human. My pathology, going back to when I was literally a child, being torn apart from a divorce, then having my heart broken from first love, I still default back to that child or male, albeit it is very infrequently that happens. It has happened, and I have to stop that. I have to look in the mirror and stop lying to thyself. I have to be transparent with myself in order for me to be integral to the people who count on me. So what that's led to, ladies and gentlemen, false idolatry of oneself. Propping myself up to be more than what I am in God's eyes. And looking down my nose to people who I think that's beneath me. That is ungodly, and that is not love. So I, right now, have to learn how to give unconditionally. No strings attached. It also says in BK1, if you loan something to somebody, make sure you know that you're not getting it back. So just give it for the sake of giving it. So for me, how does that affect my inner circle? Well, as a man that having built up that invisible wall that manifests itself in being a control person, I want everybody in my sphere to do what I expect them to do. Now, most of the time, honestly, it's what they need to do to make their lives better. But however, the way I deliver it is not always right. So what I have had the benefit of to change my pathology, this is the most important thing, is that you can control your pathology in life. You can change the whole paradigm for generations to come, and knock on wood, and thanks and glory be to God that I have done that. The control part can be diluted and diminished when you have council of elders. And I've found 3 counselors, and I have allowed them to counsel me unapologetically and with the raw truth. However, even in the realm of council of elders, I'm still human. If you know the story of Job, God blessed Job with everything. And one day, God and Satan are sitting down, and Satan says to God, you know what? You think you have all this greatness in human beings. I bet you they will scorn you, turn their back on you, God, if you allow me to touch them once. And he said, matter of fact, I don't even think you have one man on this earth that will never turn their back on you, God. And so God said, hey, I've got a guy. Now, the first thing you're thinking as you hear this story, why is God trying to prove anything to Satan? Well, guess what? God has an ego too. So God said, I've got a guy. His name is Job, J-O-B. He said, you can do anything you want to Job, but don't harm his life. And Satan said, I'll take that bet. He said, I will turn Job against you. So Satan went on way about his task. He did a lot of crazy things to Job. He set boils on his body. He did all this. So every time he did something to Job, for the first 2-3 times, he shrugged it off, still gave all the glory to God. But remember, God told Satan not to harm Job physically. And I might get this wrong, but I think Satan took either his wife's life or his daughter or son's life. He took a life from Job. And Job turned against God. He said, I rebuke you, God. But guess what? The counselors and the elders came in and said, hey, Job, let us talk to you, homeboy. Let us sit down and give you some perspective. They counseled around and they talked to him. They tried to give him perspective. And they was like, hey, man, look at all the blessings that God has bestowed upon you. Gave you wealth, gave you a big family, gave you people that you were in leadership and you're ungrateful. And Job turned around and said, well, look what I've done for God. Man, I've done this for God. I've done that for God. Who is he to question my loyalty? All the work that I did for God, he owes me. Now, these were the wisest counselors. And prior to Satan getting God's permission to challenge Job, Job was the most honorable, highest regarded, and most revered man in the land. I'm not nowhere remotely close to Job. That's not the story. But the story parallel is I have wise counselors. I have somebody who's walking principally right with God, that I emulate their principles. And they're 15, 20 years older than me. And they've been married for 40 plus years. I have two people who are superior leaders that I would never be, that I emulate their principles of leadership. You know how I know they're great leaders? Because they run massive organizations and their reputation is beyond reproach. And I've been hanging out with them for a good 15, 20 years. They're not perfect, but I've never seen them make a wrong decision in a tough situation. And I've always seen them give unconditionally to people without asking. I'm talking about their time, their money, their resources. Never ask for anything in return. One of my leaders still does business based on a handshake and not a contract, and has bountiful success. It's amazing to me. I also have two business mentors that have made millions of dollars the right way, debt-free. And I do sit down with these people, ladies and gentlemen, before I make any big decisions. But the point is, I still make the final decision. And like Job, I've taken what I perceive as something being done wrong against me, and then I revert. You hear me? I revert back to that child at 6, or I revert back to that teenager at 14 years old who got his heart broken. So when there's similar situations, very infrequently, subconsciously, I revert. This is no excuse. This just happened to be the facts. So why is that important? Because over the course of the week, I reverted. And having seen that doc episode about Hopkins' mother, having seen that doc episode with Isaac Hayes III, and having lost a loved one unexpectedly, I got quickened self-awareness. And then having a personal situation happen to me, I did not know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be here next year. So I immediately wanted to make things right. But I want to make things right regardless of the circumstances, because it's the right thing to do. And I don't want to lie to thyself. So for me, I know that I have good self-love. I have to manifest more of an unselfish, conditional giving capacity as a man. I have to be proactive in that area. And then I have to have the essence of God to forgive and not carry receipts. Here's what my pastor, Donald Rackett, told us all the time. This is very important. 2 things I took from him. He said, number one, he said, DJ, he said, When you see me in the pulpit, don't follow my personality. I want you to pick up the same book that I picked up, and I want you to make everything that you read, but most importantly, comprehend and understand in that book, have meaning, be measurable and manageable based on your comprehension of it, not what I tell you. And if you can do that, you and I are always going to be on the same page, because you're not going to see me as a personality. You're going to see me as a vessel of God. He said, number 2, as it pertains to marriage, as it pertains to courtship, he said, here's what we cannot do. He said, you open up a notebook, and since he's 20 years older than me, plus probably about 25 years older than me, and I'm going to date myself. There's things called S&H green stamps. We used to collect these and fill up the page and turn them in for prizes and gifts. He said, DJ, in courtship, in marriage, you cannot collect the wrongs, the pitfalls, the errors, like S&H green stamps, and keep it in a book and hold it against your wife or your fiance. You got to get rid of the S&H green stamps and get rid of the receipts, and you have to have forgiveness completely without attachments or strings, or you will never love or trust that person the way God intended. And that is really the hardest thing, ladies and gentlemen, for men to do, but it's even harder for women to do, because most of these millennial attention span women and men, they are living a life on a lie because they have not had the ability to come to reality of their true pains. And when they claim to be moving in the right direction, they're collecting S&H green stamps. And they're using that as their excuse for bad behavior, for wanting the bag. The men are using that as bad behavior to call women out of their names and mistreat them and see them as objects. So until they have that come to Jesus conversation with themselves and love themselves, they are never going to have happiness, contentment, and most importantly, Nick, they're never going to have peace. They will obtain money. They will obtain false popularity and fame, but they will never obtain what God intended for them, which is peace and freedom, ever. They will make millions of dollars. They will have a lot of people like them, but they will be an empty vessel because they don't love themselves. And because they believe that life is endless, they don't think life is short. So just like me, I thought as I was going through all my knuckleheadness, I had time to correct the course when I wanted to correct the course. What did I say? 1 minute in God's eyes is 1,000 years. 5 years goes by in a snap. I used to always be, Nick, the youngest person in my crew, the youngest person in school, the youngest person on the sports teams. Now, guess what? I'm the OG. And most of the people in my generation who are not taking good care of themselves physically, unfortunately, they have an untimely demise. So in order to you to have love, real love, you have to obey God's laws, and you have to understand what love truly is. Love thyself. Good love, not narcissistic love, not egotistical love, not hubris, but good, positive, pure love like a baby loves life. And when you are able to do that, no matter what your circumstances are, it doesn't get any worse than DeAndre Hopkins' mother situation other than death. That's a debilitating, tragic situation that she has to cope with every day of her life. So, lost his father. Mother is splashed with acid, has to deal with that pain physically. Forget about the emotional scars. Think about the aesthetic scars of what man would want to be on the surface if he's just a surface dweller with that woman without having the capacity to see her heart. I'll be the first one to say, I would not have the capacity to do that. That's not saying I'm a bad person. That's just saying I have not matured to that level. And I hope that I can get there one day. The harsh reality is we never concern ourselves about stuff externally until it knocks on our door. So what I want to do here is I want to ask for forgiveness for the couple of people that I was acting like a child that reverted back to that 6-year-old when it pertained to family. When I was acting like that 14-year-old when it pertained to boy-girl relationship that now is men and woman relationship. And I'm not asking for forgiveness based on the words out of my mouth because those have no value. I'm asking for forgiveness for my preceding actions. If my actions don't line up, I don't deserve forgiveness. And who does? But if it's all about deserving, guess what? God has condemned everybody. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm going to forgive first. Those things and trespasses that have been done against me, I'm going to step up to the plate and give forgiveness and grace without conditions attached to it. And it's not because I'm trying to get forgiveness for myself. I'm not. I just want to live a righteous, a productive, a loving, a giving life. Because at the end of the day, selfishly, I want to continue the pom-pom lifestyle. I want to have plenty of peace. And we've been blessed to have a lot of peace. And you know what, Nick? We became ungrateful. Lack of gratitude. There's a saying, don't stay at a friend's or guest house longer than they want you there. Always leave early. Also, my mother taught me always bring a gift. So I have a couple of people that I owe apology, sincere apology to. You know who you are. I've reached out to you. And all I can ask is you just watch my actions. I will not reach out to you because this is my public apology to you as a man. And I aspire with intention to drive my actions to warrant you coming back or just forgiving me so that you don't have resentment and you have peace, as I will do for those who have erred against me intentionally or unintentionally, because life is too short. And if we can provide that stability in our own household, financial freedom is no big deal. The real secret to life is peace. And with peace, you'll always have prosperity, because if you have your health, there's no wealth that you cannot build, no matter if you're 65 or 75, yet alone 15. But without peace and constantly having chaos and drama, it shortens the life and it causes hurt people to hurt people. So I hope that today's episode sincerely reaches one person to act. And the first act is love yourself. Know who you are in God's eyes. And if you know who you are in God's eyes, you will automatically raise your game and have accountability to oneself. You will raise your game with dignity. You will raise your game with classic behavior. And no longer will you allow people to propagate fraud in their words and their actions because they are serving the wrong God. You will not be drawn in by the politician. You will not be drawn in by the celebrity or the entertainer, who all three of them have one thing in common. They have an arm up their back paying them to act and behave the way they do to convince you to buy the crap that's going to lead you to hell. You don't have to take my word for it, because I know all these people who are on these platforms and begging for likes, if they had peace, they would not be on these platforms. Because you know what? I don't need to be on here talking to somebody that I would never see for something I would never gain, when I don't even want to know you in the first place. Think about it. See, fans is short for, phonetic. And a fanatic is a person who can't do what they fanboying about. Or they've done it and it's past their time and they still trying to get the glory and the audience pumping them up. But when you have self-love, you have no need to be on these platforms chasing likes, attention span. That's how I know. That's why you very rarely see me on these platforms. Don't need it. And if you believe that content creators and stuff of that actually is adding value to the world. Now, albeit I have somebody in my family that's trying to do that, but let's be real. You're not adding any value. If you're not teaching people about God, humanity, and adding value that is tangible, all you're doing is chasing attention because you are not in love with yourself healthy wise. You're watching Family Finance Friday. This episode, love, give, and forgive. Life is short. We're going to come back and wrap this thing up. But before we do that, Nick, do me a favor. Play that song for me. And then when we come back, we're going to wrap up and then we're going to play another song because this is the essence of what it's all about, guys and gals. You cannot show me a person that has true peace, that doesn't have a great family, doesn't have a great name from their peers. See, I used to be that person pumping myself up, talking a good game, and blah, 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 blah. But you know what true greatness is? It's when other people talk about the good in you and when you're not talking about it. I don't need to self-proclaim myself the GOAT. If nobody's telling me I'm the GOAT or the greatest dad of all time, if it ain't coming from my 4 children or my, ex and my mother and my sister and my grandparents, it does not matter. So, Nick, rotate for me, brother.
Come on, baby, dry your eyes, wipe your tears. Never like to see you cry. Won't you please forgive me? I would have ever tried to hurt you. I just needed someone to help me, to fill the void while you were gone, to fill the space of emptiness. I'm only human, of flesh and blood I'm made. Human, born to make mistakes. So many nights I long to hold you. So many times I looked and saw your face. Nothing could change the way I feel. No one else could ever take your place. I'm only human, of flesh and blood I'm made. Human, born to make mistakes. Please forgive me.
The tears I cry aren't tears of pain. They're only to hide my guilt and shame. I forgive you. Now I ask the same of you. While we were apart, I was human too.
I'm only human, but flesh and blood are made. Human, born to make mistakes.
Welcome back. You're watching Family Finance Friday. Today is a special episode. It's about love, true self-love of oneself. Once you truly love yourself with the purity upon which God has designed us to, you automatically will give unselfishly to the world, and most importantly, to the people you love the most. And you will automatically have the capacity immediately to forgive people who have not intentionally tried to hurt you. And nor will you collect S&H green stamps to fall back onto it for future references. You would totally extinguish it. And most important reason why to do these things, ladies and gentlemen, because life is short. So we want to dedicate this show, me personally, to the two people that I do not ever want to hurt or diminish in any capacity. Only thing I ever want to do is provide, protect, pastor, and be the best man I can be for you in life. And I ask you, whomever is watching this program tonight, that you first and foremost forgive yourself. Because that's the biggest forgiveness that you need to do. Let go of the guilt, let go of the shame, let go of the embarrassment. Forgive yourself because you're human. God forgives you, and that's the only thing that matters. If God forgives you and he knows your heart and you forgive yourself, everything would turn out right. So please tonight, forgive yourself, ask God for forgiveness, and those who need to forgive you will forgive you. And at the same time, please forgive those who have had trespasses against you and allow grace to cover us. And once you do that, start loving thyself the right way. No matter whom you believe is your God, go to that book, that leader, and emulate the principles that they have used in their lives. And make sure when you are comprehending the book, the studying that you do, that it's meaningful, measurable, and manageable. And I guarantee you, you will find the rainbow of peace, and prosperity will be right around the corner. We thank you for watching Family Finance Friday tonight. I pray that those two important people receive this message. But most importantly, I've forgiven myself. And I know my actions will be equivalent to the forgiveness. If you find yourself in need of any type of help, shape, size, or form, be it leadership, be it spiritual, be it business, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help you. You can reach us at 866-395-3042, 866-395-3042. You can email us at nick@djthemoneycoach.com. You can reach us at djthemoneycoach.com. We've been in this business for almost 25 years. And our purpose, our vocation is helping families become financially debt-free without any gimmicks, by sharing with them experiences through expertise through the 7 spheres of money. We're not perfect. We make some mistakes. We may miss some appointments every now and then, but we do everything humanly possible with integrity to make things right at the end of the day. So I wish you the pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of peace. And when you have plenty of peace, there will be plenty of money. You don't have to be a millionaire to be happy in this world, because God's purpose for you is peace. And once you find true peace, prosperity always comes. I'll leave you with this. David sat down on his knees and he asked God for only 2 things. He said, God, please give me wisdom and understanding in life. And he spoke it from his heart. Most people ask for money, riches, fortune, and fame, just like the genie in the bottle. When God saw and heard David's true heart, he gave him the wisdom and the understanding. And because he never had any desire for the other things, he gave him those as well. So please, forgive yourself. Love yourself. Once you love yourself, you'll automatically give unselfishly. And you automatically have the capacity to forgive, because life is short. Don't be a pushover. That's not what I'm saying. But you get the message. So thank you for watching Family Finance Friday with Nick Westbrooks, the amazing Nick Westbrooks. I'm DJ the Money Coach. I hope that this message lands the plane in your heart for your family, because at the end of the day, the only community that you can make real impact and make change is in your house. And when you do that, you will make change in your community, your neighborhood, your city, your state, your region, and across the country. So God bless you. We wish you the pom-pom lifestyle. It has plenty of peace and plenty of money. We'll see you next time.
Find out everything. We're going to give you a master training, 3-hour course, 2 consultations. We're going to teach you how to build credit up to $100,000 interest-free for 18 months. Pay off your home in 7 to 10 years. And most importantly, create $8,333 a month passive income. It's a $997 course. You get it all today for $97. Hit that link and beat me to the master training.
personal driver, he came and picked me up and brought me all the way to the Pom Pom Suites in Zanzibar. And let me tell you about this place. This is tucked away in Paje, which is on the other side of the island. And honestly, I felt at peace. The design, it was giving African all over, and I absolutely love it. They even had staff and a private chef that made food for us. Now, the property itself, a whole vibe. From here, we were on the roof and you can actually see the lagoon and the view. But let me talk about this lobby and what they have to offer. First of all, they have a cafe. You know I love me a matcha and a coffee, okay? There are low-key so many corners to work from. So if you work remote like me, baby, you don't have to worry about where you're gonna find quiet time, okay? Honestly, my favorite part of the property is the lagoon because, baby, you know I love some water, and I was able to journal because it was quiet. I love it.
It's time to say goodbye for now. We'll have our second time around. But before you go, there's something I'd like to say. Everything's not what it seems. There's a stronger force behind the scenes. He's in our lives every day. He's right there when we call. In him is where my strength lies. I lift my eyes beyond the skies. Only he can save my life, and only he can hear my cry. I wanna thank you, God, for giving me one more chance to raise my voice and to sing your praise. I sing it out loud, I sing it all day. This song is my prayer, I give to only you. I know it can compare to the gift from you. Gave me your love, you gave me your son. Ooh. Yes, you did. Ooh. I know there's some who don't believe. Sometimes it's very hard to see. Live this whole life every day. Some things don't go your way. But to be without is not his will. There's cattle on 1,000 hills, and all yours to claim. Just claim that man is holy name. See, you don't have to beg or crawl. He can see you standing proud and tall. He'll give us everlasting love. Just come to him as you are. I wanna thank you, God, for giving me one more chance to raise my voice and to sing your praise. I sing it out loud, oh, I sing it all day. This song is my prayer, I give to only you. I know it can compare to the gift from you. Oh, you gave me your love, you gave me your son. I wanna thank you, God, for giving me one more chance to raise my voice and to sing your praise. I sing it out loud, oh, I sing it all day. This song is my prayer, I give to only you. I know it can compare to the gift from you. You gave me your love. You gave me your son. Now I say